I was tired and sore. My back ached, my neck ached, my eyes ached. After sitting at the desk all day, I was looking forward to getting home, eating some dinner and relaxing for a couple hours. I pulled into the driveway and extracted myself from the car with a groan. A 45-minute drive in traffic is always so much fun. Wednesday is bittersweet. More than half the week is behind, but still 2 more days ahead. I dragged my feet to the front door and let myself in. "I want to go to Aerosmith," my wife screamed as I came in the door, and she threw her arms around my neck. Hello?" I gave her a quick kiss and extracted myself from her arms. "What are you talking about? We checked on tickets to that show a month ago and it was sold out. And I am not paying scalper prices to sit in the nosebleed section." Sarah followed me into the living room where I collapsed into my recliner and raised my legs up. I pried my loafers off my feet and let them fall to the floor. She bent and picked them up, setting them neatly beside the chair. I knew that it bothered her when I left them lying on the floor like that, but I was too tired to do anything. I wasn't too tired to notice she didn't nag me about it though. Something was up. I tried to get my mind back into gear and prepare for what was coming. Sarah sat on the edge of the couch facing me. "So listen, Carl. I was listening to the radio while doing some laundry today, and I heard them say they were giving away 5 sets of front row tickets to the Aerosmith concert Saturday night. We won't have to pay anything, just win the contest." "Oh, that's all, eh?" I sighed and leaned back, closing my eyes. "Dear, I don't have time at work to be trying to be the 17th caller when they play some song. If you can pull it off, more power to you. I would be happy to go with you." "Well, actually," she started hemming and hawing. I opened my eyes to look at her. "We don't call in. The contest is Friday night at a club and we just have to go." "We just have to go," I repeated with the doubt very evident in my voice. "We show up and they give us a pair of tickets." "That's great, we'll do that." "Well, there is a little more to it than that." She ducked her head down like I was going to throw something at her when she explained. "No kidding." I narrowed my eyes. "What's the deal, Sarah?" "Well, you know that song they do? Dude Looks Like a Lady?" She smiled nervously. "What? No." I shook my head. "I am not going to some club in drag." "No way in hell. You must be out of your mind." "Carl, please, I really, really, really want to go," she begged. "And front row. I know you can do this. I will help." I hated it when she got this way because I knew that eventually I would give in to her. I also know there is a line I won't cross, I just haven't found it yet. Still, I didn't want to let her believe I was going to cave in that easy, so I let her stew while I thought about it. "I'll cook you your favorite dinners all week. And I'll take care of the trash too. I'll watch the hockey games with you." I groaned. "Okay, stop. I can't believe this, but I'll do it. Do you have any idea on what I am supposed to be wearing?" "Well, first I hope to get you to agree to it. Tomorrow I'll go out and see what I can find. You are bigger than me, but some of my things might fit you, so we will have options. Tomorrow night after dinner we'll do a trial fitting, okay?" "Okay." I sighed. She squealed in delight, raced across the room and jumped in my lap. She began kissing all over my face, and before long I couldn't help but start laughing. "I sure as hell hope we get those tickets if I go through all this," I moaned. "You'll be great." "I know you will, I'll help see to it." Sarah crawled back off my lap. I'll get dinner ready, you just sit and relax. She handed me the remote for the TV and scampered toward the kitchen. Dear Lord, what have I gotten into? I got home Thursday night. The day at the office had erased from my mind what I was in for when I got home. I walked through the front door to the wonderful aroma of meatloaf. I loved Sarah's meatloaf. I walked into the kitchen and found Sarah all smiles serving up the plates loaded with garlic mashed potatoes, peas, warm bread, and the meatloaf. 2 glasses of red wine were also perched on the table. My mind raced through the possibilities of anniversary, birthday, what? Then I remembered the radio contest and shuddered. I had forgotten about it and had hoped she rethought it and decided it was too much trouble. I guess not. I slapped on a big fake smile and went to the table. I think I found the perfect outfit for you to wear tomorrow night, she started. I have a pretty good idea of what size to get you so you would be comfortable. I've put on your jeans before and they almost fit me, so while my stuff would be a little tight, I think some of the things will work okay. I am just so excited, she rambled on without giving me a chance to say a word. She'll be so disappointed when we don't get the tickets. We finished dinner and I got up to take my plate to the sink. No, leave it there, Sarah commanded. I'll clean up, you go relax and I'll call you when I'm ready for you. Okay, I grinned. Maybe this wouldn't be a bad deal after all. Throw on a dress for a couple hours and be treated like a king for a week. Might be the best deal I have ever gotten. I went to my recliner and channel surfed until I found a recording of a golf tournament that looked interesting to me. At least it should be easy to walk away from when Sarah called me. Carl, Sarah called about 45 minutes later. Come on back to the bedroom, sweetie. I watched a putt roll past the lip of the cup and felt better that the pros even miss a few like I do. I turned off the television and went to the bedroom. First, I ran a bath for you, she indicated I should head into the bath. I thought you just wanted me to try some things on. I hedged. You won't have time after work to shave your body, so you need that tonight. Don't worry, I'm going to help you. Then we'll try on the clothes. Besides, if we go with hose, you'll prefer not having leg hair. Reality was starting to crash in on me. She was going all out for this. I hadn't thought it through enough. I turned to protest, but I could see on her face that if I did back out, there would be a price, and I doubted it would be cheap. So I proceeded to strip down and climb into the tub. The warm water felt really nice and I lay back just to let it soak in. Sorry babe, really no time for that. Put your leg up here on the side and I'll get started. I lifted my leg out of the water and she went about lathering it up. She then began carefully running the razor over it, clearing it of all the hair. It felt nice. I leaned back and let her do her thing. After a bit she roused me from my relaxation. I need you to turn around so I can do your other leg. I splashed around, reversing my direction, and flopped my leg up on the edge. You look so comfortable. Maybe I ought to have you do this for me sometime, she teased. Your legs might look like you walked through a briar patch if you let me do that, I warned. Humph, sounds like a cop-out to me. She gently lowered my leg back into the water. I felt her hands on my chest and realized she was planning on shaving that too. Wait, is that necessary? I protested. Won't whatever I am wearing cover that? She leaned forward and kissed me. Just relax. Everything will grow back eventually. I am going to do everything just to be sure we have no last-minute surprises. She wasn't kidding either. After my chest and stomach she shaved my arms and armpits. then had me stand up so she could do the tops of my legs, and she didn't stop there either. I haven't been that hairless since I was 6 years old. I had nothing but the hair on my head. Get out and dry yourself off, she instructed. When you get home tomorrow after work, you'll need to shave your face. I want it baby smooth for the contest. I nodded my assent and toweled off. I walked into the bedroom stark naked, ready for her to hand me my clothes to put on. Sarah looked me over and smiled. I think I like you like this, all smooth. Maybe I can talk you into staying this way. Well, right now we are getting into winter. But what would I do in the summer and wearing shorts or a swimsuit? How would I explain that? People are free to make whatever choices for themselves. They can also choose to explain or not. What's wrong with I shaved for something? My wife liked it and so did I, so now I keep myself shaved. She cocked her eyebrow like that explained everything. Now here, put these on. She handed me a pair of plain black panties. Plain being relative, no lace, no roses, just black shiny material. I looked them over, decided on the front and pulled them on. It was difficult once they got to the top of my thighs as they were a bit small, but I finally got them in place. I ran my hand over them, they felt so smooth. Except for being too tight, they felt really nice. Really tight, huh? Sarah asked and tried to slip a finger between the panty and my leg. That won't do, and I don't know that I have anything else that will both hold in what you have and be loose enough. What do you mean? I asked, confused. She went to her dresser and pulled out a yellow lace band with a bit of material connecting the two sides, and I realized what she meant. I liked seeing her in those, the lace wrapped around her waist, her rear bare with just a small patch of solid yellow where it disappeared between her cheeks. In front, the lace dove down where another small patch of yellow covered just enough for decency. Yeah, wearing those would not be an option for me. I'll deal with that tomorrow. Let's get you into a bra. She held out a black bra as well, again nothing all that exciting except perhaps the little pink rose between the cups. I struggled trying to figure out how to get it buckled in the back. My arms just wouldn't bend that way. After giggling for a minute while watching me, Sarah finally came over and hooked it up. The cups were somewhat stiff but obviously lacking substance. Sarah had already thought of this and produced 2 baggies full of something. I looked at her and she understood. Birdseed, it'll give volume and weight. I'll look more real under a blouse than socks, tissue or anything like that. She slipped them into my bra and began adjusting them. I was starting to get a bit turned on and reached for her waist. Don't, she scolded me. I want to get this right. We are getting those tickets. What good is this if we can't have a little fun? I pleaded. Later, she didn't even crack a smile. She was all business. I stood there obediently and let her adjust the straps until she finally decided it was right. Slip your arms into the sleeves, she said from behind me holding a blouse. I slid my arms in and she helped position it on my shoulders. She moved to the front and buttoned it up. It felt so light on me it hardly seemed like it was there. I looked and realized how sure it was. I glanced over and saw myself in the mirror. I could see right through the blouse, clearly seeing my bra and panty. Isn't this a too sheer? I asked her a bit nervously. Yes, but don't worry, the skirt won't be, she answered in all seriousness. It is just sheer enough to look feminine, and through the blouse, the bags of birdseed seem to blend in pretty well. A little work there and it will look like you have real breasts unless someone looks close. Try this skirt on, she handed me a short black leather skirt. I stepped into the skirt and pulled it up. It seemed odd trying to figure out where it went. I mean, pants let you know that they have gone as far as they are going to go. I tried stopping at my hips, but Sarah pulled it a bit higher and zipped it closed. All right. Sarah was practically dancing. You look great. Now let's see if you can get your feet in these boots I found today. I felt strange standing there. I couldn't feel the skirt except the waistband around my middle. After an inch-wide waist, it flared out dramatically. I suddenly had an image of watching women dance and their dress spreading out and up as their partner would rapidly spin them around. I was happy that the panty was so tight, at least it made me feel like I was wearing something more black. I looked them over, and they had a deadly-looking heel on them. I might break an ankle if I try walking in these, I complained. Let's see if we can get them on you first, then we will worry about if you can walk. She was taking no prisoners. I tried to slide my foot in, but they were just a bit too tight. Sarah got down and felt around my feet jammed inside. Then she stood and went back to her dresser. Put these on. She tossed me nude pantyhose. What, not black? I was being sarcastic. Don't want too much of a good thing. She missed the sarcasm. Need help? I nodded, so she showed me how to get them put on. Once I got them in place and my skirt zipped up again, I tried getting the boots on. They were still very tight, but the nylon helped me slide my foot all the way in. I got the other one on and zipped up. They came just below my knees. This is great. Let's see if you can stand up. Sarah reached out to lend me a steadying hand as I rose from sitting on the bed. I wobbled a bit when I got up. I was about 3 inches taller, and I really noticed the difference. I stood still for a bit, moving my feet a bit to see where my balance points were. I spent time on ice skates, so I didn't think this would be that much different. It was, but it didn't take me too long to get used to them. I also liked the feeling of the hose, made me feel like I actually had something on. Why don't you wear them around the house for a while tonight to get used to them? Sarah suggested. Now that I had everything on, I figured I might as well. So I walked back to the living room to get accustomed to things. The panty was still too tight and felt like it was cutting into me at the waist and the legs. I told Sarah about it. Don't worry about that, I'll deal with it tomorrow. How does everything else feel? I think it fits okay otherwise. Does it look okay? I stood facing her. Yes, you look great. But you need to put your feet closer together, and when you walk you need to rest more on your hips and let them sway a bit. You look like you are stomping around with your shoulders all hunched up. Relax. I tried. She coached more. An hour later we were back in the bedroom getting me undressed. Sarah traced the red lines left by the panty and promised to have it resolved the next day. Friday, the day of the contest. I have to admit to myself that walking around the house last night in my outfit trying to get used to the high-heeled boots was a bit of a thrill. I didn't want to admit that to Sarah. It's been nice having her fawn over me the last couple days. Also, all day at work I noticed a few things. My clothes felt different on me now that I was hairless. And I was watching the women in the office differently. I watched how they walked, sat, and just stood. I looked at how their clothes fit them and their shoes. I had no idea all this was around me all the time. I just never thought about it beyond they looked nice. I got home and was once again engulfed in the aroma of one of my favorite meals, enchilada casserole. I went straight to the kitchen and we ate. Sarah started talking about what she needed me to do as soon as we finished with dinner. So, with dinner behind me and Sarah cleaning up the kitchen, I went to the bedroom and took off all my clothes. I went to the bathroom and very carefully shaved my face, making sure not to nick myself. That would likely put a crimp in Sarah's plans. Finally, I finished and looked at myself in the mirror. I still had trouble believing it was me with no hair anywhere on my body. I went back into the bedroom. Sarah was waiting. "Here, try these." She handed me a new pair of panties, black of course. I put them on. They were again plain, but while they were tight, they fit better and didn't feel like they would cut me in half. Also, they were cut a lot higher to the hip. We got my bra on and Sarah pushed the birdseed boobs into them. Then she slid a flap of something into the cup edge and began sticking it to my chest. "I found this when I was shopping today. It is just a thin piece of foam rubber, but it is close to skin tone. I cut it down and put some adhesive on it so that it really will look like you have boobs." She stepped back and admired her work. "Okay, now get your hose on and then the rest of your clothes. We still have a lot of work on your makeup." Once again, I felt like I wanted to bail. Makeup, not what I wanted to hear. Then I saw a blonde wig on the dresser and became even more anxious. I turned to Sarah to say something, but I looked in her eyes and saw the trust she had in me to keep my word. "All right, a few more hours and I'll have kept my end of the bargain." I got my hose on pretty easily, slipped on my blouse and skirt before getting my boots on. I stood up pretty happy with myself for being able to dress myself. Sarah laughed and directed me to a vanity where the light was good enough to do her work. That seemed to take forever. I was beginning to think the contest would be over before we even left the house. It was taking so long. At last she grabbed the wig and tugged it down on my head. A few adjustments and she stepped back, taking a critical eye to her work. She reached down and unbuttoned my blouse, then took some of the goo she had and smeared it along the seam of my fake boob and the rest of the foam. She redid one button and had me look in the mirror. I had nothing to say. I couldn't believe it was me. I mean, it was me, there was no doubt about that, but I was shocked. "You know," I spoke, "this just makes me trust women even less. There is no telling what you are hiding." Sarah laughed again. "We do have our tricks. That is why you men need to get to know us rather than just drag us off to bed because you like our looks." I was thinking the foam would do on your chest, then I got the idea for the concealer and it came out so good. I think we can leave the blouse open and show some cleavage. Last she stuck some false nails which she had already painted on my fingers and warned me to be careful not to run my hose with them. I looked back at the mirror, stuck out my chest and wiggled them. Sarah laughed again and handed me a purse. "Put your license and money in there and let's get going." Sarah did the driving, which was fine with me. Getting in and out of the car was a big enough of a challenge with the heels. I didn't need to add driving too. We talked about how many folks would be there and if I would win, which she was certain I would. She laid her hand on my thigh as she drove and it sent a chill through me and got me a bit excited. I started picturing her doing things while she drove. She never went any further than that though. Sarah and I walked into the club and what a pair I thought we made. She was dressed in a colorful mini dress in complete contrast to my black outfit. Then I looked about and was shocked. The place was packed with people in dresses and skirts. Almost nobody was wearing slacks. We made our way to the bar and ordered a couple drinks. The music was so loud it was impossible to talk, almost impossible to get the correct drinks. While we waited, I found myself rating the competition. I saw one group of guys who apparently thought throwing on a denim miniskirt and a crop top would be enough. Then I saw a group that I wasn't certain whether they were guys, girls, or both. Lots of mixes where some were more convincing than others. Okay, dudes, the DJ's voice boomed across the PA system. We are going to start the contest in just a moment. We'll have everyone who wants to try for the 5 pairs of tickets to walk to the middle of the dance floor. Once there, we will select 10 semi-finalists. So the first 10 out will stay there. If someone comes along we feel is better than at least one of the 10, then they will substitute in and that person will be out. Now, no real girls, okay? Lots of laughter from the crowd. Any doubts to the authenticity, and we'll find a way to check. Let's get started. Of course, dude looks like a lady started coming across the speakers and the parade started. It was obvious most of the first 10 weren't going to be standing there at the end, and sure enough, lots of swapping was going on as the line moved across. I was closer to the end of the line. I figured that way I would get dismissed pretty quickly and not have to stand out there too long. To my surprise, I was placed into the semifinals line. I looked out to the edge of the dance floor and could see Sarah jumping up and down in excitement. The last part of the line was filing through and I felt a hand on my shoulder. South close, I was ready to walk off when they asked the person next to me to leave and placed a final entry on the line. Okay, here they are folks, your semi-finalists. Let's give them a big hand. Now we are going to meet them and cut it down to the 5 winners. Not surprisingly, a couple of them were performers at a local gay club that did drag shows, others seemed like me. Hey, what's your name, hot stuff? The DJ stuck the microphone in my face. I'm Carl, I responded. Wow, Carl, do you do this often? You look pretty amazing. Great set of knockers you got there, he laughed and the crowd whistled. I started feeling a little exposed and pulled at my skirt a bit. Well, my wife did an amazing job. This is the first time I've ever done anything like this, but she really wants to go to the concert. So you did this for your wife, eh? He must be one hell of a good husband. Yeah, he is. I heard Sarah's voice over the din. The DJ moved on and interviewed the last 2. I fumbled at my blouse and closed up another button. I was beginning to feel sorry for the way some men treated women. I certainly wasn't enjoying the comments. That couldn't be said for all the guys. I did see one shaking his fake boobs and feeling them up. He tried to get the DJ to do it as well. Finally, the decision was made and they started calling the 5 winners. Would you be surprised to find out that I was one of the finalists? Sarah came flying across the dance floor and threw her arms around me. I nearly lost my balance but caught myself just in time. I grabbed my skirt to make sure it didn't get pulled up in her excitement. You did it! We are going to see Aerosmith. Front row, she laid a big kiss on me. Considering how we were dressed, I bet we looked pretty hot. Wish I could have seen us. We did it, I told her when she gave me a chance. There is no way I could have done this without you. Okay, here are your tickets and backstage passes. A radio station rep gave me an envelope. The band is doing 2 sets. You'll need to be ready to go on stage for the first song of the second set. On stage? What do you mean? I looked at Sarah, who appeared to be as clueless as well. Oh, you didn't know. The band wants the 5 winners to appear on stage with them as they play Dude when they open the second set. So you need to be dressed up again for the show tomorrow, too. Did you know about this? I turned to Sarah. No. Seriously, I didn't. Her face lit up. You are getting to be on stage with Aerosmith. That is so awesome. Terrific. I get to be on stage at a huge concert dressed up like a girl. This is getting worse by the hour. I thanked them for the tickets and led Sarah to the door. As I walked into the parking lot, I felt the wind pick up and a tug on my skirt. I grabbed it quick as I could but heard a couple catcalls which I tried to ignore. We drove home with Sarah jabbering on about how she knew I would win and how fortunate we were to have the tickets and the passes. She didn't seem to remember that I was going to have to get all dressed up in her clothes again. Although, I guess technically, the panty and boots are mine. We got home and Sarah helped me undress and get free of all the makeup and falsies. When I was clean, she took me to bed and thanked me in the best way possible. We got up the next day and just took care of things that usually needed to be taken care of during the weekend. It seemed like a normal day except that Sarah was practically jumping out of her skin with excitement. "Time to get you ready," she announced. I dutifully went off to the bath and took a shower, checked to be sure I didn't need to shave anything. Of course my face needed some, but other than that I detected no stubble. I went back to the bedroom and found a pair of white panties lying on the bed, same style as the black ones I had worn the night before. Well, they'll be a lot easier to spot under my black skirt, but I'll just have to be careful. I assumed Sarah thought I wouldn't want to wear the same underwear twice in a row without washing it. I had to agree. It was a bit warm last night and they got a little damp. I slipped them on and tried to find the rest of my clothes. Just then Sarah came into the room. "Oh good," she spoke as though finding her husband wandering around in a pair of panties was a normal thing. Just because they said they wanted you dressed up again didn't mean you had to wear the same thing. I had a few extra things stored away in case you didn't like the first outfit. I didn't realize you would need them the next night. Lucky, eh? What have you got in mind? I sat down on the end of the bed. Here, she handed me a white strapless bra. "Put this on and let's see if I can make it as good as last night." I wrapped the bra around my middle, hooked it and then moved it up into position. Sarah immediately went to work filling the cups and had more of the foam she had used the night before. I couldn't believe the serious look of deep concentration as she made my breasts look as real as possible. "You know, we have the tickets," I explained to her. "You could give me some other dress that covers me more and not worry about it." "It's a matter of pride now," she explained as she finished gluing down an edge. "I won't have anyone wondering how we got the tickets because we just mailed it in after getting them." I let her finish doing her thing and when she was satisfied I looked in the mirror and couldn't believe how natural I looked. I mean, if I didn't know it was me standing there in a bra and panties, I would think I was looking at a woman. Well, until I saw the bulge in the panties. They were tight but didn't make it go away completely. Okay, Sarah went to the closet and came back with a short white strapless dress. "See if you can wear this." She helped me get it on. It was tight under my arms, which helped to make my boobs stand up some. It hugged me down through the hips where it flared out. But it was very short. Dear, I had a tremor in my voice. If I am on stage in this, won't people be able to look up my dress? Just don't get too close to the front of the stage. It is long enough to maintain some decency. Besides, when I finish with your makeup you are going to look fabulous again. What can I say? I have to trust my wife. It was by her will that we have gotten this far. She finished my makeup, wig, and fake fingernails, which were either different or repainted because last night they were red and today they were a pale pink. She then had me sit down on the bed. I had forgotten to put on my hose. It would likely be a pain getting them all the way up as tight as this dress was. Instead, she surprised me by putting fake nails on my toes. Another trip to the closet and she emerged with some white high-heeled sandals. I slipped my feet into them and although a little tight they fit me. I stood up. The heel was a bit wider than the one on the boots I wore last night and easier to walk in. I went to the mirror. "Dear, you are amazing," I complimented her. "Well, now let me see about getting myself as pretty as my husband." "I don't think that will be much of a challenge," I told her. I spent the next 45 minutes wandering around the house marveling at the sensations of wearing this dress. It felt so strange having bare shoulders, and my legs, oh my. I wore hose last night to the club and that helped me feel more covered. Now they were bare and I felt positively naked. The wait was worth it. Sarah came out in a fire engine red strapless dress every bit as short as my dress, except her dress was tight all the way to her thigh. "Well, what do you think?" she asked as she performed a complete turn in front of me. "I think you look amazing," I gushed. I've always been more of a leg man than a boob man, and I had taken in a good look at her legs but when she turned, I noticed no lines from her panty, and the image of that little yellow panty she showed me sprang to mind. I stirred with the thought of it. "Let's go," she hopped up and down. Once again she drove. The whole time we were in the car I picked at the hem of my dress trying to imagine being in front of all those people. Walking into the arena, sitting on the front row, being on stage. Dear God, how did I get into this? I looked over at my wife and realized how. I reached over and placed my hand on her bare thigh just below the hem of her dress. She smiled and patted it. At last we parked and began our trek to the arena. We found the special entrance we were to use and were ushered inside. We worked our way down to the main floor and to our seats. They weren't in the middle but just off toward the right side of the stage. No matter, they were going to be amazing. We talked excitedly about how amazing the show would be and how great the seats were until a figure approached us. It was the rep from the radio station. "Hi, almost didn't recognize you. You aren't wearing the same outfit as last night." "I hope that is okay. Quick turnaround and no time to get things cleaned," I explained. "No, it's fine. You still look great," he assured me. "Okay, so right before the second set I'll call you backstage, so if you leave during the break, get back quick. Don't loiter around looking for souvenirs or anything. We'll have you and your wife covered for that anyway with a gift bag after the show. We'll give you the rest of the instructions then. After the show is over you can come backstage. You'll have a chance to meet the band, hang out, whatever. After the first 15 minutes you may be asked to leave, or the band may leave, or the party may continue. We have no control after that." "Okay, thanks." I shook his hand and he went off to look for the other winners. Soon the lights went down and the band hit the stage. The music was deafening and Sarah and I were up dancing at the edge of the stage. I have never really been much of a dancer, but dressed as I was I felt different about it. Sarah loved every second. When the lights came up I was suddenly drenched in fear. Soon they would be coming for me and I would be up there. Sarah could see I was getting nervous and kept assuring me that I would do fine and just be sure not to get too animated if I started dancing up there because I would give people a view. Great, something else to be nervous about. The time came, I smiled at Sarah as they led me backstage. When I got there I saw only 2 other ladies. The other 2 showed up not dressed. We revoked their backstage passes. "It will just be you 3. He went on to explain where we would stand and how to leave after the song. Soon the lights went down and a man with a flashlight led us out to the stage. I got to stand close to where Sarah would be in front of me and that worked. I stood there in the dark listening to the roar of the crowd as the sound pounded against me. I caught movement from the corner of my eye as the band was led onto the stage. I heard a drum beat and the music blared around me. A half-second later I was blinded by a full-on spotlight. I must have been dazzling in that white dress. Dude, looks like a lady was in full swing. Once I got my eyesight back, I spotted Sarah and began dancing to her, very carefully. Suddenly I had Steven Tyler right beside me, singing and screaming. I was lost in the moment and the personality and turned to dance with him. After a moment he went off to the front of the stage and the people crowded around there. The song ended and I quickly moved back off the stage. As I was navigating the stairs, I could hear Tyler asking the crowd if they could believe the hot women on stage were actually dudes. The crowd was cheering wildly. I rejoined Sarah and we watched the rest of the show together. When it ended I was exhausted, but the thought of going to the party invigorated us both and we followed our rep to the gathering. The room was packed, but we were ushered over to a place where Aerosmith was gathered. "Dude!" Steven called out when we emerged from the crowd. "You are unbelievable. Come here, do you do this often?" I moved closer, pulling Sarah along. She wasn't resisting. "Second time, last night was the first," I answered. "This is my wife Sarah, she performed all the magic." "Sarah, a true pleasure." Steven was incredibly polite. I was stunned. "Whose idea was this, yours or his?" "Mine," Sarah gushed. "I heard about the contest on the radio and I wanted to come to the show so bad I just had to try." "Well, you did a hell of a job on him. Man, you're a good guy to do this for her. You mind if I check out your boobs?" I shrugged and he reached up and gave them a squeeze and a poke. "Incredible, man. Could we get a picture together?" Sarah asked. "Oh, sure," Steven answered in a heartbeat. "Hey, Tony." A man immediately appeared from the crowd. "We want to get a picture." "No problem." Tony took Sarah's camera from her and cleared the crowd back to get room. "Hold on a second, Tony," Steven instructed. "Fellas, jump up here and get in the picture with us. Come around the sides here, girl, me, dude in the middle. How's that look, Tony?" Tony gave a thumbs up and snapped the picture. Then he took another camera and snapped a photo. Everyone broke up and went back to what they were doing. "Be sure to give your address to Tony and we'll send you a copy of the pic autographed. We really appreciate you doing this, the crowds go wild for it." "Thanks again." He shook my hand, hugged Sarah and went to talk with one of the other winners. "I can't believe it." Sarah hugged me. I had Steven Tyler on one side of me and Joe Perry on the other. "You are so incredible for getting us here." "Thank you, thank you, thank you." We turned and the rep handed us a bag with some souvenirs in it and thanked us for doing it as well and told us we were on our own. Sarah and I wandered around the room for a few more minutes but felt there wasn't much left to do there. It would be very difficult to get close to the band again, so we decided to head out. The parking lot had only a few cars left and we were able to get out easily without fighting the traffic. "Let's go get a drink somewhere," Sarah suggested. "Seriously?" I asked. "I can't go somewhere like this." "Why not?" she countered. "You've been to a club last night, been on stage at a concert in front of thousands tonight. Why not a club tonight?" "Those places I was expected to be like this," I argued. "Now, it would be just weird. We did the thing and now we can get back to normal." She laid a hand on my bare leg. "Please, come on, just for a drink or two." I am too hyped up to go home. Of course I gave in. We walked into the club. Music was playing, not nearly as loud as the concert, of course. There were some dancing, but the place wasn't too crowded, for which I was happy. We found a table off to one side and Sarah ordered us a couple drinks. We talked more about the concert and my experience of being on stage. Closing time came much faster than expected and we went on home. Sarah again helped me undress and clean off all the makeup and fake nails. It was early by the time we were both ready to climb into bed and we passed out from exhaustion. Several weeks went by and I was back into the same old grind. I came home after a grueling day at work to find an empty house. A note in the kitchen explained that Sarah had gone shopping with one of her friends and would be catching dinner out with her. I should feel free to fend for myself. I grabbed a couple things from the fridge and heated them up. While I ate, I went through the mail I had brought in. There was a large brown envelope which I opened first. The picture we took with Aerosmith was inside. It was signed "The prettiest dude we've ever seen. Thanks," and each member had signed it. I could hardly believe that was me standing beside Steven Tyler with our arms around each other. And how hot Sarah looked, as well as happy with her arms full of Steven and Joe. I looked at the rest of the mail, finished my dinner and cleaned up my mess. I would make a point of getting a frame for the picture, or at least have Sarah get one, trusting her taste over mine. I went to the bedroom to change out of the work clothes and went to the closet to look for some jeans. I found myself looking over Sarah's clothes, running my fingers across the different fabrics I saw. I pulled one dress off the rack. It was a long dress, but it felt silky and I wondered at how it would feel. It had spaghetti straps and the memory of the strapless dress rose in my mind. I couldn't resist, just for a moment. I left the closet and stripped off the rest of my clothes. I searched for my panties and found the black pair and slipped them on. I didn't have time to mess with the bra and filling it, so I just left it off. I then pulled the dress down over my head. It was tight and I had to struggle with it some, but I eventually got it in place. The skirt fell down to my ankles. The dress was many colors, but I thought I needed to put shoes on as well. I walked to the closet and found the white sandals. The feeling of the dress sliding between my legs was amazing. I didn't want to dull it with pantyhose or boots. I returned to the bed, pulled the skirt up out of the way and put on the shoes. I walked to the mirror and looked at myself. I wasn't as good as when Sarah did all her work, but it felt amazing. I liked the feel of the long dress. The minis were nice too and wondered how I would decide between them if I needed to. I felt jealousy toward women having all these great choices. I was always stuck in a starched shirt with a noose around my neck. I did a turn to feel the dress swirl about me, and that is when I saw Sarah standing in the doorway. "Those shoes really don't go with that dress," she stated. I know, but I didn't want the boots." I tried to be upbeat. "Sarah, the picture with Aerosmith came in the mail." I guess I got to thinking about that night and I suddenly wanted to try the dress on. "So you chose a dress that is nothing like the outfits you wore that weekend?" Sarah dropped a couple bags on the floor and came further into the room. "Well, I don't know, really." I was searching for an answer myself. I didn't know why I chose it other than the material felt nice. I guess I felt the material and just had to try it on. "I'll put it back now." I sat on the bed and pulled the dress up to get the shoes off. From where Sarah was standing, she got a peek at my panties. "You put the panties on too?" she went on. I subconsciously tucked the dress down between my legs, trying to recover my virtue, I guess. Yeah, it just seemed like the right thing to do. I got the shoes off, stood up and struggled to get the dress off. It was covering my head when I felt Sarah's hands help extricate me. I went to the closet and returned the items to their places. I came back into the room, peeled the panty off, folded it and put it back into the drawer. I started looking around for my underwear, but I didn't see it. "Sit down here for a minute," Sarah instructed, indicating the bed beside her. I sat, placing my hands in my lap as I was feeling very exposed. What is odd is that it felt the same as when she discovered me in her dress. I just wanted to put my old clothes on. "Have you been wearing my things very often?" she quietly asked. "What? No," I protested. This was the first time since the concert. "I swear." I saw the picture from the concert and started thinking about that night. I was going to put on a pair of jeans and a tee when I found myself looking at your things in the closet. I thought the dress would feel nice, so I decided to try it on, and I thought I ought to wear the panties because it just didn't seem right to have my underwear on. Then I needed to see it with shoes on. That is when you came in. She nodded. "And, did it feel nice?" "Oh, yeah," I nodded. "I would wear something like that a lot if I were a woman." She sat there for a moment more. "I guess this is my fault. If I hadn't gotten you to dress up to get those tickets, you might never have done this. You never seemed to take interest in my clothes before." "Honestly, no, I didn't think about them." "Well, I have a confession, too," she looked up at me. "I have been thinking about those nights that you were all dressed up and wishing I could come up with some excuse to do it again." "What?" I was confused. "I had so much fun going out with you those nights. You paid more attention to me, you danced, we talked more. You are a wonderful husband and I really have no complaints, but when you were with me those nights it was different. I've been harboring little fantasies about going out with Carla again." "Carla?" I sneered. "Yeah, it is what I started calling you in my fantasies." She looked at me as though needing my forgiveness. "Sarah, dear," I reached over and took her hands in mine. "I don't know how far these fantasies of yours go, but I have no interest in going out picking up guys or anything like that. I haven't even thought about going out of the house again like that. Honestly, that dress I had on, all I thought of was walking around the house feeling the way it moved on me." "I can see you liked it." She stared down at my lap. "Well, I guess I can't deny it was exciting to feel." I let go of her hands and tried to cover myself. That dress covered almost all of me, but it was so light, and the way it caressed my legs when I moved, I just really enjoyed it for that brief time I had it on. "Okay." Sarah sat up straighter. "I'm not going to beg you this time. I want you to make this decision for yourself, but please think about it. This weekend I would like to spend it with you as Carla, or if you want a different name, whatever you choose. I'd like to go shopping, to a restaurant, maybe a club for dancing, maybe a movie on Saturday. Then on Sunday I think it would be nice to go to the zoo. The weather is supposed to be fantastic." I sat there stunned for several minutes. Sarah began to fidget in the silence. I thought she would start making promises to do things for me, but she was true to her word. She just sat waiting for my answer. "I think that I would like that." I was almost shocked by the words that came from my mouth. I couldn't believe I was dedicating myself to a weekend as a woman. Sarah stared at me in disbelief. "Really? You will do that for me?" "For us," I nodded. She threw her arms around my neck and hugged me tightly. "Thank you." I just nodded. She let go and went to the dresser. She tossed me a pair of panties. "Here, maybe a little warm-up for the weekend. You can wear these tonight under your sweats." I put them on and grabbed some sweats and a tee. That Saturday Sarah went to work on turning me into Carla again for the day. She had bought some proper breast forms for me so she didn't have to mess with the birdseed anymore. I was in the habit of keeping my body hairless since the concert weekend because it just felt better to me. She found a loose knee-length skirt and light sweater for me to wear and a pair of flat sandals for walking. She dressed similarly with a slightly shorter skirt and a blouse. We had a wonderful time going to stores and trying on all sorts of clothes. We bought some things for my own wardrobe: dresses, skirts, blouses, lingerie. I was surprised when she insisted on buying a nightgown, but she said her friend Carla was there for the weekend. We went to an afternoon movie, dinner, and then drinks and dancing at a club before we went home. Exhausted as we were from the day's activity, Sarah insisted I wear my new nightgown to bed, and then I leave my breasts on so it fit correctly. I was further surprised when Sarah came to bed wearing a very sexy nightie and initiated lovemaking. It was some of the best sex we had in quite some time, as though we were rediscovering each other anew. We got up the next day and dressed for our day at the zoo. The weather was a bit cooler, so I wore a shorter skirt with tights and a heavier sweater. Sarah wore a long skirt and sweater. It was funny to me that I was taking as much interest in her outfit as my own. I wanted to be sure we complimented each other if we were going to be seen together in public. I never understood why some girls called each other to see what the other was going to wear. Now I was starting to get it. Bathrooms were a challenge at first because I didn't want to go into the ladies for fear of getting arrested. But I soon realized that they have a lot more privacy in theirs than the men do. So, as long as I went in, took care of my business in the stall, and at the mirror checking my makeup, nobody seemed to notice. Sunday night I lay there in bed in my nightgown. Sarah had her head on my shoulder and arm wrapped around my middle. "I had a wonderful weekend," she whispered. "So did I admitted. I waited a couple seconds. "Actually, I'd like to do it again. Only I'd like to plan something nicer for dinner or after so I can wear heels again." I could feel Sarah's face change. I assumed in a grin. "I think that could be arranged," she squeezed me. "Maybe a really nice dinner and a play?" "That sounds really good to me," I agreed, giving her a squeeze back. "Of course you know that means we are going to have to go shopping again. You will need a nice semi-formal dress." "Well, dress shopping with you is such a chore," I teased, "but if it has to be done." Sarah leaned up and we kissed. And then we made love again. Our marriage was always good. Now it seemed even better. Sarah and I were discovering new things about ourselves. We talked about many more things than we used to. Not just fashion, though that often came up, but politics, sports, everything. It seemed this revelation in what we enjoyed broke a barrier of fear that we would be rejected for something we liked or disliked. Sarah and Carla attended many things together, from casual dinners to formal charity events. I, as Carl, still did some things with Sarah, and they had just as good a time together, but even the most restrictive dresses I wore seemed to offer more freedom than those dreary suits I had to wear. There was never any question as to changing gender and going full-time female, though at times it seemed like I ought to, like when we went on a 2-week vacation, and though Carl got on and off the airplane, Carla was with Sarah the entire rest of the time. Other than that, Sarah and I were very happy with the arrangement. I still worked my full-time job, and so far nobody there was any the wiser for it. Sarah and I stood in the bedroom with wine in hand, facing a picture of her and Carla surrounded by Aerosmith. We rose out glasses in a toast to the 5-year anniversary of finding Carla. We sipped and kissed. Sarah slid her hand up under my dress. We went to the bed and celebrated more.